After the 60s, the flourish of Neo-Noir came out, and we're going to talk about one of them that was prominent of the early 70s. Arthur Penn comes back after doing Bonnie Clyde with Gene Hackman and does a Neo-Noir. This is Night Moves.
Yeah, you had three great reinvention films in the 70s.
Yeah. So we'll talk about, I'm going to do like a little more revision. Kyle's kind of critique it. So let's get into it. Let's talk about Night.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm one of your hosts, Kyle Goethe from GoatFilmReviews.com.
Hi everybody, I'm Nick from the St. Paul Filmcast. Thanks for finding us. Thanks for watching. For our loyal fans, thank you for support the show. Now that we can support the show, we do have a Patreon. Check that out for some great to tell us what movies we can review for a featured episode. The colors recital to you as well. Today we're talking about, because it turned 50, from 1975, Neo-Noir. Directed by Arthur Penn. This reteams him. Gene Hackman was in Bonnie and Clyde. I think it was one of his first movies. And we're going to talk about him being a detective, Harry Mosby. What is going on in Night Moves?
So, Private Detective Harry Mosby has been tasked with finding the teenage daughter of a former Hollywood actress. He quickly discovers that finding the girl is a lot easier than solving the unsolved mystery that he's just stumbled into.
Okay, this is written by Alan Sharp. He's done a couple books, and actually got the inspiration to this this story because of a girl he met in Florida on his way to L.A. We talk about this movie is kind of a Gene Hackman carry. He does kind of carry the movie.
Oh, yeah.
But really, the scene stealer is Jennifer Warner being in this movie.
Well, clearly you haven't noticed Gene Hackman's mustache, because that's really doing all the heavy lifting.
And, of course, Susan Clark, who is Webster's mom, is in this. And, of course... yeah, it's not the noir construct that we like to think. It's not a lot of things happen at night. I don't know why it calls Night Moves. Initially, it's supposed to be a chess with a K with the Night Moves, but that was the committee removed because you see a lot of times he is playing chess in the game. But it's kind of unique that the title doesn't really fit the dynamics that are happening out of the movie.
Well, it's more of an internal reference to the chess game itself, because I know that another title that was almost used was The Dark Tower, unrelated to the Stephen King story, but because it was being released right about the time of the Towering Inferno, they were like, we don't want confusion with what our movies are, and especially because Gene Hackman had just been in an Irwin Allen film with Poseidon Adventure, they didn't want to meld those two worlds.
So it's very familiar to like even Harper with Paul Newman, this gritty, dynamic private eye who used to be a football player. I like how Gene Hackman kind of plays it. He plays a guy who just can't quit action. He needs something to be happening all the time. He could be doing another job. He can take it easy, but he needs the action, and so much that even when his wife's having an affair, it's almost like he's happy to have something dynamic happening in the relationship.
Yeah. I thought it was very interesting because there was a specific decision that was made about which film the wife was going to see. It was going to be a Claude Chabrol film in the original script, but it was changed to My Night at Maud's, which was an Eric Romer film. And he makes the joke, of course, that watching Eric Romer is like watching paint dry, which, his movies are very slow and very, methodical. Funny fact, Arthur Penn loved Eric Romer, so he kind of put that in his little dig. The interesting thing about My Night at Maud's is that it's all about a character who can't stop overthinking every element before acting. And the inverse of that would be Gene Hackman's character Harry, who acts without really coming to terms with what those consequences are going to be.
Yes. Yeah. Like he can't quit the action of the football. Also, you got a young James Woods, also a very teenage Melanie Griffin. My God, I'm not comfortable having not adult yet with her scenes.
Yeah, the weird thing about it is they kind of tried to... Several times they tried to work around what they were saying with it, because the movie was shot in 73 when she was 16 and not released until 75, and they of course said that at one point it was to wait till she was 18 to film the nude scenes, which isn't true. They filmed them when she was 16. And then she also had said that like during the time she was in the water that she was wearing a body stocking, which is also not true. And so like it seems like they were prepping for concern when you could have just gotten an 18-year-old actress or waited 2 years.
Or maybe just not do it.
Yeah.
But it was the 70s.
Yeah.
So, you have Jennifer Warren. She comes in midway through. This is her first kind of movie. She kind of does steal kind of the movie. You got Melanie Griffin in here, Gene Hackman. You got to pepper a lot of a story that I would say the plot of a neo-noir is not as crucial element. This is kind of like follow the threads, because all of a sudden you're looking for a teenage girl, but you find her, all of a sudden you're meshed into a smuggling world in Florida.
Yeah. It's what I was calling a double MacGuffin, really, in that Melanie Griffith's character is the first MacGuffin to
Yeah.
get us to the second MacGuffin, because she really, like, he finds her really quickly. I paused really quick. I was like, damn, this movie's moving quick. And I checked the runtime and I was like, oh, no, half done. So what's going to happen with the last half? And it really becomes less about any of the journey thus far and less about the journey that he's about to do, and it more becomes about Harry Mosby dealing with the stuff that's going wrong in his life.
Right. So I think you have enough temperament of a great subplots going around. And I think even sometimes the subplots are far more interesting than the nexus of this main story that we're having.
Yeah.
But right, Arthur Penn loves to dissect relationships. I think the dynamic of Jennifer Warren, Harry Mosby's character, are they going to, aren't they going to, are they doing it? But it's clumsy. There's a lot of things that's unique about this that is kind of clumsy. She talks about somebody touching her nipples for like 5 minutes. It's like, is that in the script, or are you going to ad lib? Somebody wrote that?
It's a very long-winded scene. Apparently that sex scene was supposed to be much more like longer and intense.
Yeah.
And they were like, we got what we need.
Right. And then they're dancing when they're drinking, and they hold that scene a little bit. So there's a little bit of peppermint of awkwardness. You know, he finds out his wife's cheating on him. He goes to the person rather than her.
Yeah.
And then you get this awkward dynamic. And I think that's Arthur Penn playing on the awkwardness of being a private eye. Nothing's really going to smoothly happen in the dreamy world of the 40s noir.
Yeah, well, and Arthur Penn said a lot of the movies he made around this time were him trying to come to terms and understand the dual assassinations of the two Kennedys that took place around this time. Penn worked for each of them in his career, kind of like prior to these films.
Yeah.
And so a lot of this is this kind of aimless wandering around, not sure what to do next kind of a thing, like how much uncertainty is in someone's life. And that's kind of the vibe he was going for, because that's really how the U.S. felt at that time, was that we've got these political things that are being taken out.
Yeah, a little bit rudderless.
Yeah.
We don't have a direction. Wandering like Harry Mosby, the character, Gene Hackman's character, he's just going to be a private eye because he doesn't want to do anything else, because he doesn't want to be stuck. He likes the action, as I said before.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think that's probably why the movie wasn't successful in its box office run and didn't have any success until it hit the home video market. And I think that's kind of the thing that makes me sad about the past. I get nostalgic when I hear about movies that are successful in their home video runs, because we don't have that anymore.
Right, there's no punch to this to see this in a theater. There's no, like, you want to see Bonnie and Clyde in theater, but there's nothing like this. And you have a cinematographer, Bruce Surtees, who won an Academy for Lenny just after this, but you don't have anything that would draw you into seeing this in a movie. It wants to be a grindhouse kind of a thing. It wants to be gritty, but also there's some things that are really polished and corporate about it too.
Yeah, the sad part is that the only thing that I think you could show in a trailer that would get asses in seats is the end of the movie, which you don't want to give all the way.
It goes like horror
really
movie.
An action scene. It's more just an action moment.
Right, it goes horror movie like from the last 2 seconds of it.
Yeah.
Which for some reason in the 70s you loved horror movies out in the ocean.
Yeah.
Overall assessment, if you like neo-noirs, I'm going to recommend you see this movie. You know the thread of where noir, you have this classical, feverish, dreamlike quality. Neo-noir, you have this kind of really grittiness to it, and it's Arthur Penn trying to demonstrate, kind of presented in a more reality terms, the awkwardness of it, the non-celebrity status of being a private detective, that you have to do kind of this gummy work, and not to mention you meeting probably people that are not the best people in the world too, including Melanie Griffin's character's mother in this movie, who you just want to sock in the face eventually.
Yeah, he goes from
Not
wanting to take a bath
advocating
to
violence against women, but you just get so frustrated with her, you just want to shake her. Like, what are you doing?
I mean, the fair thing here is you kind of want to punch most everyone in the movie.
Yes,
So that's the fair thing. It's not just her. I want to punch James Woods.
Right, you want to punch him in the face.
And I should also say I want to punch his character too. These are two separate instances.
Right. There's no real, and that's another really good staple of neo-noirs. There's really no good hero in this. I wouldn't even put Harry Mosby as an anti-hero.
We pity him. I think the thing is, we as the viewer want to see him make sense of it all.
Sure.
But he's an unlikable person at times. What I really find interesting here is you've got a movie that has two actors in it in 1975 that would also team up again in the 1970s, in the mid-1970s, to make a Mel Brooks film. So you have Gene Hackman in Young Frankenstein along with Kenneth Mars in Young Frankenstein.
Oh, yeah, the peppermint.
At least they share some scenes here. So that's
right, Kenneth Mars in there, yeah.
And, you'll get also, too, fun fact, if you watch the film and look for the young teenage guy who's interacting with Melanie Griffith early on in the film, that's actually director and actor Dennis Dugan, who would appear in The Howling about 6 years later, and then direct a ton of Adam Sandler movies in the 90s and 2000s. So he got his start in performance as well, and then eventually kind of moved on to other things. So this is a ridiculously stacked cast of people.
Yeah, and like I said, if you are interested in following the threads of Neo-Noir, this is a highly recommendation movie. Even though there is some clumsiness to it, it's not a really polished movie, but yeah, check it out. I highly recommend.
Yeah, I think it's a character mystery more so than an actual mystery. You know, and I think there's a distinction there because you shouldn't care about how this is going to play out because it really doesn't matter.
Exactly. So that's our assessment of Night Moves. Keep the conversation going. Put a comment down below. Hit the like and subscribe button.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, you can find all my film reviews. I just got new reviews up for Heart, Eyes, and Love Hurts over at goatfilmreviews.com.
Really good movies. And that's all you can read my reviews at stpaulreviews.com.
Boom. Thank you.